Honestly, where I'm from, in China Grove, North Carolina, it's a little community called Nillytown, which is all family. You see that in most Amish communities or whatnot, but in North Carolina, in China Grove, it's our family. We have Nillytown, and almost every day after school, we would race when we got off the school bus from mailbox to mailbox. So that competitiveness to always want to race started from, as a kid back home in school, and it just kind of increased the more I became an athlete. And then I didn't start running track until my junior year in high school, so I was quite the late bloomer. And next
So
thing I know, I found myself at states and nationals my first year of running. Like, man, what's going on? But I was already apt to the need to race because that's what I was doing every day after school. The moment we got off the school bus.
so was there any encounters with anyone beating you to the punch?
Oh yeah, yeah. So I was quite the late bloomer, per se. I was quite the runt until the summer before my junior fall in high school. So a couple of my cousins could outrun me. I had a cousin Henry who was a couple years younger than me. My older cousin Ramsey and Andre, who are 2 years older than me, and then, believe it or not, my cousin Sheena. Yeah, I had a girl cousin that could outrun me for the longest, and a lot of people don't believe that. But I tell people all the time I was not the fastest athlete out of my family, and definitely not out of my neighborhood. It was actually my cousin Sheena who would outrun me until I hit my growth spurt, and so things changed after that.
I hear you, man. So, being and growing up in sports, top three sports that you like to play.
Oh, basketball, football, and funny enough, even though I'm good at track, a different type of racing. It will be either dirt bike racing or car racing. Even though street car racing has been illegal, but we had dirt bikes when I was growing up, and so we used to always race our dirt bikes in the cow pasture or on the road. So I used to just love that nonstop, and that kind of also increased my love for Formula One racing. Those who know me personally know my overzealous passion for Formula One racing. So that's where it all came from. But those are my top three sports before I really got into track and field.
So, to that point, when you first were getting into track, like
Hmm.
full time, what helped you get that speed up? What pro- like propelled you to the speed that you needed to compete at?
So crazy story. There's a backstory to that. Again, we always used to race when I was a kid, so that hunger to want to win was always there. First and foremost, an athlete, they have to have that. If they don't have that undeniable hunger to win, they're not going to make it in track and field. They're not going to make it in any singular sport because it has to be so overwhelming that that person can take on the responsibility of being able to perform, and everything is your fault per se, as an athlete in a singular sport. But as I was hitting my growth spurt, so my sophomore summer going into my junior fall, I hit a 6-inch growth spurt. And one of my basketball, actually, he was my AU basketball coach, Coach John Davis. He was like, "Man, I need to introduce you to the weight room." Now, the funny story about Coach Davis, he was a basketball coach, but he's 6'5", around 280 pounds. He looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger on stilts. And but don't get me wrong, Arnold Schwarzenegger is no short guy, but Coach Davis is a little bit taller. And so he introduced me to the weight room. He was like, "This is how you're gonna get more powerful as a football player, per se," because that was my first mindset was football, football, football. And I decided to run track and field my towards the end of my junior year just to stay in shape for football. So he introduced me to the weight room, and the first thing he introduced me to was Roman deadlifts, which strengthens the hamstrings and glute. And one thing about the RDL is not only does it strengthen your hamstrings, it also helps elongate, so stretch that muscle as well. So not only was I getting stronger, but my mobility was increasing as well. And so I got on the track, and I was always known as a quick athlete because, again, beforehand I was a runt. So I was a, 5'3", 105-pound demonic athlete per se, because I had to find a way to win, to overcome my size. Now that I have this size, kind of working with me, and it's introduced. Coach Davis introduced me to the weight room. Man, when I got on the track and we were doing sprints one day, and I think we were doing 60-yard sprints. It might have been 70-yard sprints, but I remember I was staying with everyone up to the 30-yard line, and then I just pulled away like nobody's business. And I was like, wow, this is a feeling that I've never had before. Again, before I'm 5'3", 105 pounds, I got to work for everything because I'm short. Now that I'm 5'9", around 140 pounds, maybe 135 pounds, to be honest with you, the power kicks in and I just pull away. And I'm like, wow, I really like this. So I saw that, and then I just became an addict in the weight room.